everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the full moon in Taurus, which we have on the 31st of October, and the astrological developments for the first half of November. Now, this is the second full moon that we have in October. It's happening, as I say, on the 31st. It's happening at 7:49 a.m. Pacific and 2:49 p.m. UK time, and it is at 8 degrees 36 minutes of Taurus. Now, this is quite a polarized, contradictory full moon because it is within 3 minutes of Uranus. That full moon is within 3 minutes of Uranus, so it can be really considered to be exact. So it is shining a light on all things Uranian. Now, what does that mean? Well, Uranus has a very eruptive, explosive, volatile quality. Behaviourally, it's to do with demands for freedom and independence and individuality. And it's quite rebellious. It's very linked to Eris, really, in its symbolism, in its archetype. People taking to the streets and demanding more equality, demanding to be heard, demanding their freedom. So in that sense, it's reinforcing the long-term messages of Mars and Eris in Aries that, again, are very much linked to individual rights and freedoms and in a very assertive way. So that's going to reinforce that whole theme. Uranus, as always, is very linked, particularly when it's in Taurus. It'll be in Taurus until 2026, with earthquakes, volcanoes, extreme weather, extreme earth events. It can be political earthquakes, shocks, surprises, unexpected news, bizarre events, galactic news. And all of this is going to be happening 31st of October, 3 days before the US election. So these are very, very volatile energies. By the way, if you don't know where this sits in your chart, you can download a free birth chart from my website. Go to this link above. That will take you to my story by 2-part video series that will explain how you find these points in your chart and what it means for you. And you can use those for every update I ever do. The other possible manifestation here at this full moon, because full moons tend to shine a light on secrets of what we haven't known. Uranus is linked to truth. The piercing sword of clarity, truth coming to light, is really an exact expression of this full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus. So are we going to be seeing more sudden truths, shocking, surprising, coming to light, which again can change our trajectory going forwards? And this full moon is really, feelings and emotions tend to come to a head, as I say, at full moon. So this is going to be within this overall crescendo of energy that we have in these two very extreme months, October and November particularly, we have a whole series of peaks within them, and this is yet another peak. This full moon, in shining a light on Uranus, is also shining the light on the polarity, really, the contradiction, if you like, of Uranus in Taurus, because they are not easy bedfellows. Taurus is all about permanence, stability, feelings of safety, security, things for the long term. We don't want any sudden change. We don't want the boat to be rocked in any way. And Uranus is really the opposite. It's the maverick. I want to break up anything that's stale and routine and predictable in order. It's a feeling of breaking through in order, or breaking down in order to break through. It always has that message. So it's very interesting that long-term Uranus in Taurus, as I say, it's going to be there till 2026, is really reinforcing the message of Pluto in Capricorn, because Pluto in Capricorn, the sign of government and top-down authority, is really about the deconstruction of the old order. Systems, political, social structures we've had for all of our lifetimes are being deconstructed. We can see that every single day in what's happening in the world. Equally, Uranus in Taurus has that same kind of destabilizing, shaking up message, but it isn't without purpose. It's to break down in order to break through. And I think one thing to keep in mind with this is people with strong Taurus energy tend to have very heightened senses, particularly the sense of touch. And Uranus, if you go back to the myth of Uranus, is very linked to cutting off. So, and it's in its rulership of Aquarius too, there's a kind of intellectual distance, let's say. So it's not huggy, it's not super close in the way that a water sign would be. That isn't to say that Aquarian people don't have that quality in them, because you have many aspects to your chart. But isn't it interesting that we have had a cutting off from touch, a cutting off from hugging our loved ones, our friends, our family through 2020 because of all the lockdowns, etc. So as far as you can, within the limitations within which we're living, even if it's hugging a pet, try and get that touch connection, because it's very much part of our humanity. And I also want to say that going into stronger Aquarian energy with Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius in December this year, because it's such head energy, mental energy, intellectual energy, be very aware of living from your heart in order to balance that. So it's very interesting energy. So these are going to be round about the full moon. We're going to see some very strong events that are shocking, surprising, or some news that is shocking and surprising potentially. Let's see what unfolds. Also, Mercury at this full moon is at 26 degrees of Libra, these late degrees of the cardinal signs yet again. So Mercury is forming now a T-square to those planets in Aries, Mars, Eris, Black Moon, Lilith, that unruly trio. And indeed, Eris is at the midpoint of Mars and Black Moon, Lilith. So, again, excitable, impulsive, angry energy at times. And Mercury and Libra, Aries planets, are both square to the Capricorn planet. So that forms a T-square, so running up against the rules and regulations. So there could be angry words at this time. What are those angry words about? Well, Mercury is in Libra. So they're angry words about fairness, justice, equality, potentially, all Libran qualities. So this is a very strong cardinal full moon yet again. We're seeing this strong yang energy out in the world all the time through these next 2 months. A lot happening at the 3D level. As we move into early November, on the 3rd of November, the day of the US election, Mercury becomes stationary direct. Now, as I've spoken before, this suggests to me that perhaps the election can be delayed, or the results coming out of the election can be delayed in some way. And I think whoever wins, clearly with all of this volatile energy around, there is likely to be some social unrest in the US. I mean, that isn't a very big prediction to make, I don't think. Also on the 3rd, Mercury is exactly square to Saturn at 26 of Libra, Capricorn. So that suggests that people aren't going to agree. Your opinions are running up in that square against other people's opinions. So again, this could be many different differences of view, again, fueling this very strong Aries energy in the world. As we start to move into a few days later in November, on the 12th, Jupiter comes to exactly conjunct Pluto for the 3rd time. It did this on the 4th of April and again on the 29th of June. And really both of those times, particularly the early April date, were times when we had an expansion in governmental power. 4th of April was very early days in our lockdowns across many countries. So we are likely to see that expansion in governmental power and control again, round about the 12th of November. Jupiter expands, Pluto in Capricorn, the power and control of government. So we are likely to see that, but equally, Jupiter will expand the deconstruction of the old order, the acceleration, the collapse of the old will expand that. And it will also expand our spiritual transformation. Because remember, Pluto is the planet of spiritual transformation. So there are two timelines here happening at the same time. And this is really what this third conjunction of Jupiter conjunct Pluto is exemplifying, because we have a 3D timeline and a 5D timeline. 3D timeline, this is the kind of thing you see on the news, the day-to-day chaos, dysfunction, things aren't working properly, we feel very constrained, all that we've felt as reliable and trusted in the past seems to be collapsing, our foundations are collapsing. And this is messy. But at the higher level, we are actually entering a whole new episode in our human evolution. And so we have a fork in the road, if you like, and that fork is getting wider. And we can still jump from 3D to 5D, but it gets trickier. And the reason it gets trickier is that we become addicted to our thought patterns and our emotions. We literally become chemically addicted to them. So if you are addicted to those low-level emotions, low-frequency emotions of fear, anxiety, panic, anger, all of those things, you are actually creating neuropeptides that go to every cell in your body that you become chemically addicted to. Read Molecules of Emotion, groundbreaking book by a brilliant neuroscientist called Candace Pert. Candace Pert, I'll put the link below, brilliant book. And that will explain this. So, but equally, the emotions at the 5D level are to do with joy, laughter, compassion, peace, gratitude, appreciation. And equally, we can become chemically addicted to those neuropeptides. So the sooner we can get, and 4D is just the bridge between 3D and 5D, so the sooner we can get on the 5D timeline, the easier it's going to be for each of us, and the faster, individually and collectively, it's going to bring in that new world, which is going to be so much better than what we currently have. So I hope I'm being clear there, because there's a kind of chemical addiction involved in this. So, use all the techniques I've talked about in the past. Use the post-it notes stuck around your house. What are you thinking about? Where's your focus, etc. And an idea that came to me that may help us with this is, imagine that you're in a darkened theatre. And there are going to be two possible plays going on in the theatre that night. And one play is really quite dark. It's all about negative energy. It's about anger, fear, panic, aggression, fight. And the other is at the 5D level. It's about love and joy and sharing and compassion and gratitude and appreciation. So let's imagine that the first one starts to appear. So you start to see thought forms appearing on the stage in this darkened theatre, like wispy, ethereal, almost like ghosts. And you can choose to turn the spotlight on those thought forms. And when you do that, they start to take more form, they start to take more colour, and they start to act out that play, which is pretty heavy. Or you can lift your eyes to the thought forms, these ethereal, wispy, ghostly creatures appearing that are going to be acting out the 5D level play of love, joy, laughter, sharing, compassion, etc. And you turn the spotlight, you choose, we always have choice, you choose to turn the spotlight on those thought forms. And they start to take form and colour and interact and speak and act out the play. It is all to do with where we put our focus, where we put our attention. And I think that spotlight in the darkened theatre, for me, is quite a helpful analogy to help us navigate where we're going. Now, moving forwards a little way further to the middle of November, Mars becomes stationary direct on the 14th. Now, whenever a planet changes direction, becomes stationary, its symbolism is magnified. So this could be a hot day and a few days to either side of that. Remember, Mars is god of war and assertion and aggression. So we could see a lot of anger at this time, a lot of impulsivity, all of those less positive qualities of Mars, because there's so much that is reinforcing that kind of low-level energy. However, it is also our courage at this time. And I really want to focus more on thinking of this 3D and 5D, we are entering the Scorpio phase of the year. The Sun is already in Scorpio right from the beginning of November, and Mercury enters Scorpio on the 11th, or re-enters Scorpio on the 11th. Now, Scorpio astrologically is the sign of spiritual transformation. It's ruled by Pluto. And it actually, in astrology, has two symbols, if you like. It has the scorpion. Its ancient ruler is Mars. And this is about the low-level expression of Scorpio, which it can be. It's primal. It's animal instinct. It's rage, envy, jealousy, animal sexuality. That really those fundamental animal instincts at a low level. But another symbol for Scorpio is the phoenix, who rises from the ashes. And this is really, for me, expressing the 3D and the 5D. So if you can rise from the ashes and get onto that phoenix perch, or I've often talked about the eagle's perch, this much higher level of the observer, the witness, seeing everything that's unfolding as energetic. Because what's actually happening, if we think about the physics of what's happening, with those two timelines that are happening at the same time, they are not only being driven by a divine plan that's been in place for many, many thousands of years, but they are also being driven physically by a lot of new light coming onto the Earth. We're moving through the photon belt. New light codes are pouring onto the Earth that we've never known in our lifetimes. And when that high frequency light comes in, the old low-level density just can't continue to exist, and that's part of the reason for the disintegration. It's a whole series of things that are, we can see it astrologically, we can see it in terms of physics with light, but it simply can't continue. Now, that breakdown of the old, and that may continue until 2024, while Pluto is still in Capricorn, it's going to create a lot of turmoil and dust and rubble. But what's going to really soar is that 5D energy, that high frequency light that is coming in for every single one of us. So see everything energetically, step back, so you're not just caught up, because it's going to be very colourful, it's going to be very dramatic, there's going to be a lot to catch your interest at the 3D level, but it won't help you moving forwards individually or collectively, but what will is to just be able to pull yourself to a higher level of being. Step back, and if you can do that, you'll start to create a much greater sense of peace and equanimity and confidence, trust in the invisible, trust in your ability as a creator for a new world. And the other thing I'd like to say at this full moons are great times to release, to let things go. And I'd like you to start to consider not just what you want to create, but what do you want to let go as we move into this new episode for all of us, new episode of human evolution. It may be physical things, it may be behavioural patterns, thought patterns that have not been serving you well. What do you want to let go to enable us to more rapidly get on that fast track to step into a better world? So I hope that's been helpful for you. If you'd like more information about my books, my long monthly newsletter, my teaching videos, just go to my website, pamgregory.com. Don't forget that you can, if you don't know where these points fall in your chart, you can get that two-part video series that will help you immensely if you have a what does this mean for me question, and really enjoy this full moon in Taurus, but be aware to step back from the drama and be the eagle or the phoenix. I hope that's helped. Bye for now.